My name is Oonah O'Shea and I'm an Australian sister of Sion who lives in the Philippines. This year is a very special year for us here in the Philippines. We are celebrating 30 years of Sion's presence in this country and therefore in Asia. So what's Sion doing in Asia? Back in 1986, at a general chapter of our congregation, that is, an international meeting of sisters, it was thought that we were not in the Asian reality or in the sub-Saharan African reality, and therefore we were not being touched by the churches of these two vast continents. We were not being touched by them, and our charism was also not touching those churches. And these are churches that are very important for the future. So the Australian region of our congregation was asked to look at the possibility of Asia. Asia, perhaps 2/3 of the world's population, and here we are, a very small congregation. At that same chapter, the congregation recommitted itself to responding to the cry of the poor and to an option for the poor. Therefore, when we in Australia looked at the possibility of Asia, we decided the only way we could respond in any way was to have a community amongst the poor. So we sought invitations, and finally one came from the Philippines that we accepted. It was from the prelature of Infanta, which covers the province of Northern Quezon and of Aurora. So in September 12 to be exact, 1990 I should say, two of us, Sister Patricia Fox and myself, set forth to establish a community here. Our first few years we merely spent trying to become enculturated, learning the language, learning about the situation here in the Philippines. In 1995, we were joined by Sister Anne Britton. Initially, we established ourselves in the municipality of Riel. After a few years, Sister Patricia moved also to the north of the Palliative, to Aurora. She became involved particularly with farmers and fisherfolk. Here in Riel, we became involved with the women, helping them with livelihood projects of different kinds. Throughout this time, we have been fortunate in that we have also welcomed into our community Filipinas. And now we have a community of 7 sisters here. 3 of these are Filipinas, 1 is an Indonesian, and 1 is a Brazilian. We're very lucky to be able to say that on our anniversary, we're welcoming formally another Filipina to join our community. As a community, we're involved in different ways with the poor. Sister Patricia, unfortunately, is no longer here in the Philippines, but is back in Australia. The reason being that her visa was cancelled in 2018 because of her involvement in social justice issues, particularly with farmers and with the poor. The government was not pleased with her, and so she incurred their wrath. But this has not stopped our involvements at various levels with people who are urban poor and rural poor. We hope that in the future we'll be joined by other women and that we will be able to continue to both respond to the needs of the poor and also of the church, because we are involved as well in teaching Bible, in teaching Hebrew, biblical Hebrew, and in interfaith work, all of which are the dimensions of our charism as a congregation. So we ask you to pray for us here in the Philippines as we celebrate our 30 years.